Hello guys, welcome back to another video on the Stratus Forecast Weather Channel. And today we're going to be going over a couple of different snow events that could be impacting parts of the country, including the Northeast. We've got a pretty impactful system that will be coming through during the evening hours or sometime during the day tomorrow, and will be impacting the Northeast in the later parts of this week. We'll also be talking about the potential for another winter storm coming up this weekend, and another winter storm after that. And we'll also be talking about potentially some temperature cool downs and even some warm-ups in the near future. So as of right now, we're dealing with some cloudy skies over the plains, especially in the central plains throughout the Midwest and parts of the Ohio Valley. And then we've got some stray snow showers happening across parts of the New York area. Some of this, I assume, is just part of lake effect snow. If we go over the last couple, this was what it looks like over the last couple 24 hours. Just some widespread scattered snow showers going off the lakes, Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, and it's been pretty well overcast for a good portion of the Northeast and New England. Cloud cover extends all the way back through portions of the western half of the country, all the way back in portions of Oregon, Idaho, Montana, as well as California, Nevada, Utah, and Seattle, and it extends all the way across throughout parts of the southern New England and parts of the Northeast as well. And it does extend all the way back to Maine. But we're dealing with a system that's developing across parts of the western half of the country. This is going to be our system that develops and is going to basically take a turn right towards the central United States and make its way up through the Pennsylvania area on north and eastward, and create for a pretty icy and snowy situation for the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. But as of right now, it is dropping tremendous amounts of rain across the California area, where rainfall is much needed and snowfall will continue across the mountainous areas. So here's your watches, warnings, and advisories so far. So we have winter weather advisories that extend for much of southern New England, just basically, away from the mid-Atlantic coastline and right along the immediate coastline. We also have ice storm warnings back in portions of West Virginia and all the way back up through portions of Pennsylvania as well, and parts of just Virginia as well. We have winter weather advisories that are in effect for the Great Plains. This includes portions of central and southwestern parts of Iowa, northern Illinois, and far western Illinois. Far western Ohio. We also have some winter weather advisories that are in effect for portions of the eastern half of Kansas, as well as the northern half of Missouri. And we have flash flood warnings that are up in effect for the Mississippi Valley and across portions of Arkansas, western Kentucky, Tennessee, as well as Louisiana and Texas. We also have dense fog advisories up for portions of Alabama, portions of Florida, as well as Louisiana and Texas. We have winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories up for the Pacific Northwest and the Upper Plains. We have high wind watches and warnings up for the state of, what state is that? We have high wind and watches up for parts of the Upper Plains as well in the Central Plains. We have wind advisories up for Nevada and Utah. We have wind advisories, winter storm warnings, flood warnings, and high wind watches, as well as wind advisories up for both, California, and just wind advisories up for the most state of Nevada and Utah. We have winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories that extend for a good portion of the state of Oregon and all the way back up to Washington, Idaho, as well as Montana. So here's what we could potentially be expecting. Here's what we're thinking is going to happen. So as of now, again, the same system that we're just watching, we're going to see this cut across the areas across the United States, and it's really going to develop as part of the Central Plains and much of the Ohio Valley area. We're going to see an area between, areas between about the Ohio area all the way back to portions of West Virginia, and we're going to see this really develop and cause a lot of freezing rain issues and ice accumulations. And there will be some sleet mixed in there as well. And then we get this other area of low pressure that kind of develops along the coastline of southern New England, and this associated with this system will basically create for a widespread variety of precipitation, pretty much in the way of snow at this point. This is through Thursday night anyways, where we get an area of low pressure that develops. It doesn't really give its moisture to it, it just kind of goes through. And with the area of low pressure up here dragging in some of those warmer temperatures, we will see a little bit of mixing and rainfall accumulation, especially along the coastline of southern New England and the Northeast as well as the state of Maine. That system goes through, and then we're not done yet. We get another system developed kind of in a similar spot, except there isn't an area of low pressure that's as far north as above in the Canadian areas, except for this one over here, but that's not actually associated with the system. So we get an area of low pressure that develops sometime around Sunday, Sunday early morning. This is Sunday early morning. And it kind of develops with, again, a lot of freezing rain in the same exact areas that are possibly going to be seen, and with a widespread snow cover across the interior Northeast and New England, so that'll likely stay around a little longer. Then there's a little lull in the action, but we're still watching for Tuesday and Wednesday, as this area of low pressure kind of develops in the southeast, with a widespread area of rain showers and thunderstorms, mostly scattered in nature, but this line of showers and thunderstorms could potentially pose a severe weather threat depending on, how good the wind shear is and things like that, or the temperatures and the moisture available, and as well as the energy. But as of right now, it looks like it's going to stay up the coastline. Of course, a few days ago when I made a forecast, we had this winter storm possibly entering the northeast area with a widespread snow cover. As of now, it looks to miss, mostly due to a high pressure. You just can't have a high pressure this close to the northeast without it just pushing this thing off the shore. But there's still time to watch for this, but as of now, I mean, we're still like 5 to 7 days out, I think, right? We're still about 7 to 8 days out, so things can definitely change in the near future, but we are looking at mostly some sort of storm system that would likely have accumulating snow right along the southern New England shoreline where the heavy spans would set up. But we'll continue to watch this, but the high pressure with this is far south, and the high pressure is strong as this one, or I guess you could call it strong in ways, but it's rather strong. That would basically push the storm offshore, and that's basically what it looks like it's going to do, kind of keep that offshore. And then the jet stream just kind of goes like this. It's kind of a weird pattern, but it kind of you can't have this because the you would have to have a storm that follows the exact line, but it's not going to, unfortunately, and it's going to keep most of these storms offshore. But then towards the 15th, this is looking way out through the 15th and 16th, it looks like another system that would bring maybe a mixture of rain, snow, and sleet, freezing rain in there. But that system goes through, and then at the very end of this run, it tries to throw in another system that kind of follows up the eastern seaboard. This is the kind of storm you would want to see for a major nor'easter. Unfortunately, high pressure and control is going to keep this, high pressure and control over here is going to keep this thing from actually, making it all the way up the eastern seaboard. So we'll have to watch how things play on that one. So as far as the European model goes, again, this is not the latest model, but we'll use this model anyways. This is the model that updated today. So again, we're watching that system that goes through. Again, the European model is throwing a lot of moisture there, which would create for pretty much a disastrous situation for much of Pennsylvania and areas that could see significant icing out of this, especially in portions of the Great Lakes region and the Ohio Valley. And then it throws a lot of heavy snow in towards the Maine area with some freezing rain and sleet, and just plain rain across the state of Maine. That system goes through. Then we get another system develops. The good thing about this next system is for, people that enjoy the snow, it keeps the low pressure system well off to the south, so there would not likely be any mixing occurring because there's a high pressure just staying there. Again, it's still not great position, but it is enough up there to keep this low pressure system from going all the way up over the state of Maine and creating a mixed bag of precipitation. But it looks to me like a strong area of low pressure. It kind of wants to get stronger as it goes over here. But it does look like a healthy snowfall accumulation with some sleet and freezing rain. I don't really see the mixing happening along the coastline, especially in this run, but it's definitely a potential. And then the thing that we've been watching, again, the second system, the problem is you get a high pressure system that's all the way up here, and it's going to keep this thing from really going up the eastern seaboard. And the other problem is the jet stream position. The jet stream is kind of tucked a little bit farther south than you would want for a nor'easter, so it's not typically great, but it tries to throw in another system through the 13th and 14th. It would maybe bring a little light to moderate snow, and then potentially another system after that with a little bit of light snow on the back end of it. And then no, we're not done yet, not quite just done yet. Another system tries to form late in the end of this run, which looks to be your classic nor'easter kind of setup, but things can change, so that's what that's looking at. So here's your snowfall accumulation again. Most of it is going to stay through the upper plains, the Midwest, and Great Plains all the way back to the Northeast and parts of New England, mostly in parts of southern Maine. would be experiencing the most snowfall accumulation, but you're looking at a healthy snow between 1 and 2 feet of snow here. And then obviously, it's trying to throw in some snow all the way back in Texas, but you know how these weather models go. It's probably not going to happen, but we had a rare situation down in the southeast where we did see a major snowstorm that was kind of in historic terms, but no, we're likely not going to see anything like that again. But again, northern half of the country exceeds pretty good snowfall accumulation, and the mountains of California would likely get on a lot of snow in this situation, especially in the Pacific Northwest, where we could see totals as high as the 60s, 60 to 70 inches of snow. So here's the more accurate reading of the snowfall accumulation as far as the GFS model go. We'll use the Kuchera snowfall accumulation map. Wait for this to load in. Okay, so again, it wants to bring that snow track a little bit farther inland. So again, a little bit farther to the north, which, yeah, that makes sense because I don't necessarily agree with the Euro 2 model bringing snow all the way down here, but it still does show snow all the way down in Texas, which I don't necessarily believe, but it's always a potential. But it looks like a good snowfall accumulation again, between 1 and 2 feet of snow in the northeast, and pretty much the entire northern half of the country is dealing with some sort of snow. Here's the rainfall accumulation again. Most of the rain that falls down here is going to be in the form of rain rather than snow, so it looks like a healthy rainfall accumulation for the southeast and for parts of the Pacific Northwest and the western half of the country. Here's the rainfall accumulation as far as the Euro 2 model goes for this event. So again, the southeast gets on a beneficial rainfall accumulation, which is very good. So does the northeast, only much of this is going to be snow and freezing rain and all sorts of other precipitation types. California and the Pacific Northwest get on a beneficial rain. Unfortunately, the southwestern half of southwestern half of California is still suffering from drought conditions, and unfortunately 2 inches of rain is not going to put much into that, so that's kind of unfortunate, but you do get some rainfall out of these atmospheric river conditions. So as far as icing accumulation goes, we'll just go through Friday here. So again, there's a little bit of icing that's possible here. So I think if you're in the mid-Atlantic and right along, the northeast corridor between northeast and the mid-Atlantic, probably right between the Pennsylvania area and 3 parts of West Virginia and Virginia, especially northern Virginia, I think you're dealing with a very significant icing event here with potentially, from about a quarter of an inch, potentially all the way up to near an inch of ice, which there's already ice storm warnings up for that specific area. So I think that really tells the story there. I think there's potential for a lot of icing there. Again, it doesn't take much ice accumulation to create treacherous driving conditions, not just treacherous, but dangerous driving conditions, as well as widespread power outages. So I definitely expect in this area some significant widespread power outage events out of this system because, a quarter of an inch to a half an inch is more than enough to create power outage. But then you add on another quarter of an inch to a half an inch, you're looking at really serious problems. And then after that, there's going to be another system that comes through and it pushes that icing as far south as Carolinas. I don't necessarily agree with this. I don't think you're going to be seeing 2 inches of ice. But I definitely think it's a potential for the Pennsylvania area to see some pretty significant icing out of this, a widespread, quarter of an inch all the way up to potentially an inch of ice. I don't think we're going to exceed more than, a half an inch of ice because it's a little bit far out to tell, but it's always a potential. I think it's fair enough to say right now between half an inch and 3/4 of an inch of ice is pretty fair to say. I think that 1 inch of ice is just kind of, a little bit overboard. So as far as temperatures go, here's a look at what we could be looking at for temperatures. So the big question is, so this event comes through like Thursday into Friday, so again, so it's going to be a really hard contrast because you're dealing with temperatures that are like, wherever this lines up really. So it really depends on where the cold and warm air meets up. So as far as the storm goes, so I think when the cold air first begins, kind of when the system arrives first, so I think the system is right around here. So again, it's going to be icing first, and then it would change over to rain pretty quickly, but it could be that freezing rain would be coming down really heavy at times, which would probably be the reason why you get a significant icing accumulation. And then across the interior northeast, you see with that temperature around the Bengal area gets exceeding around 34 degrees. You're right borderline snow and rain there, and maybe even a little bit of sleet, but that would probably be mostly, a mixture of snow and rain. But that system goes through, and then right after that, temperatures crash, but not before another system pulls through. And this one stays relatively cold enough, but across portions of again, similar area of where you're seeing that significant icing accumulation. You can basically tell what the area of low pressure is. So again, pretty much it would be another situation where you get enough cold air in place for, a solid 1 to 3, 1 to 5 hours. I don't know the exact timing, but, in the morning hours, I'd say. On Sunday, you get that quick time frame between Saturday and Sunday night of a quick hour, a tight window, tight hour frame to get that freezing rain down to the ground before, rain would likely take over if the temperatures crash over from 29 degrees quickly over to 32 and higher than that, 40s there. So it's going to be, icing first, but then it's going to be a change of rain, but it just depends on how much icing you're getting actually down to the ground. So, I'd say it's a pretty fair shot you get, your fair, quarter or half an inch of how much icing accumulation you're going to hit, but it's going to be a tight window because once you get that icing down, it's going to quickly change over to rain, and you might even melt some of that ice, to be honest with you. It's definitely potential, so some of the ice may not even stick. And then right in the interior northeast, like I mentioned, it stays pretty much cold enough. Maybe right along the immediate coastline you get some freezing rain, but I think it's cold enough to stay most of the snow. Temperatures stay between the teens and 20s across the state of Maine. And then temperatures crash with a quick Arctic blast, nothing major by any means, but temperatures could fall into the single digits, and across the upper plains, you're dealing with below zero temperatures once again. And then temperatures kind of stay that way. They don't really, do much. They just kind of crash, and potentially another, I'd call that more of an Arctic blast crossing interior northeast of next week on Thursday. And then we don't really, those temperatures don't really rise too much until we finally get into later next week into Saturday, where temperatures finally I don't consider this a heat wave by any means, but it could be a potential for a little bit of a warm-up mild spell. I'd call it interior northeast, you're probably dealing with 30 to 35 degrees, maybe, occasionally closer to 40 degrees at times, or nothing crazy out of the ordinary. And then cold air wants to tight back, wants to hold on. So again, winter's not over. As far as the European model goes, so again, you get that tight window to get that freezing rain down to the ground, and it all depends on how the soundings look too, which I can take a look at that, but you can see it's going to be a tight window that you can get that freezing rain down to the ground, and then it's going to quickly change over to rain. I don't know about 50 degrees in Pennsylvania, but it's always a potential. And then it wants to bring that warm air, even warmer up into Maine, which European model has been doing this consistently. So again, you have to take that into granted, but I think you would put the models in between each other and kind of say, I'd say 30 to 35 degrees is a fair shot across much of the interior northeast in New England. And then the next area of low pressure, again, it tries to force that cold air even up into Maine, but again, it's going to be that tight window that you get that freezing rain down, where the temperatures slightly crash, below 30 degrees, and then they quite quickly climb up over 30 degrees within a tight window within a couple of hours, and it stays pretty much cold enough for the entire state of Maine to just be, pretty much all snow. And then it stays cold, honestly. We get some very cold temperatures, and then we get a little bit of a warm up. Well, it tries to warm up. If you're interior northeast, you probably don't have to worry about much because it's not going to get much warmer. And then cold air wants to win over. So, so you're really going to have to get that freezing rain down. It's really dependent on how the warm air and cold air masses, collide and actually, where the warm layer is and the cold layer is to really provide that freezing rain. But we'll see how things play out, I guess. But I'd say it's a fair shot to get at least, however much ice you get within a tight hour before temperatures climb over the 30 degrees mark. But I'd say it's, a fair shot of a quarter of an inch to around half an inch of ice before these temperatures override 30 to 35 degrees, and then become a little bit too warm to really have ice accumulating still. So, yeah, we'll have to watch that closely. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you guys did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe. And yeah, stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.